Got a new cover for the Tacoma. What's going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Stuff and Things. Today we're talking about the Tacoma build once again, and the newest addition to it, this Diamondback HD cover. Now, Diamondback is a company that I've been wanting to work with for the longest time, but I never owned a truck. So when this project sort of came into my mind and started to come to fruition, I reached out and said, hey guys, I know we talked about working together in the past. I'm thinking about doing a Tacoma build. Would you want to be a part of it? They, of course, said yes. And with Diamondback support, they are one of the title sponsors of this build. I can't say enough good things about the company, and I might as well give you guys a little bit of a background as to why I've been wanting to work with them, and we have a lot in common. So Diamondback is a company that formed in the state of Pennsylvania. As you guys know, I'm from Pennsylvania. One of their headquarters is actually located in Harrisburg, where I lived for about 2 years. And the similarities don't stop there. Two of the founders, one of them being very business driven, the other one being very builder driven. Both of the founders were actually students at Penn State when the Diamondback cover came to life. I also went to Penn State University, graduated with 2 degrees back in 2014, so I'm a Penn State alum, and so are the founders of Diamondback. Now, the way these things sort of came to life is a pretty cool story. I've heard this story a few different times and I don't know it verbatim, but essentially the way they came about is both of the founders were in a class at Penn State, the one with the business mindset and the one with the builder mindset. The one who is the builder actually came up with sort of like the first prototype of a Diamondback cover for a project in this class. The founder with the business mindset was there in that class, and after the whole presentation sort of wrapped up, he approached the guy who was building these things and said, hey man, you gotta run with this. This is a great product and you should scale it up, make it into an actual business. So with the support of the actual professor of the class that these two were in, they formed Diamondback. The two founders teamed up, they actually started producing these things, and it took them to a point where they actually dropped out of college because they were focusing so much time on getting the company off the ground. As you know them today, no matter what truck you're driving, if you have a Diamondback cover, the community of customers who invested in these covers swear by them. If you drive a truck out there, I'm sure if you have one, you love yours as well. I've personally driven a few different trucks with these covers, and my first time actually working with Diamondback was when I delivered the Freedom Tremor, which is the project between Diamondback and my friend Mike, Last Line of Defense. I went to pick up the Freedom Tremor in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, watched the cover be installed. I loaded this thing up with a bunch of gear, locked it all up. It's weather sealed, which is really nice, because then I drove that truck from Pennsylvania all the way out to around Denver, Colorado. So again, we've got a lot in common, both from Pennsylvania, both alumni from Penn State, and this company does a lot for their community as well. Just like the Freedom Tremor project that we talked about, that truck is going to be raffled off for charity. I will leave a link in the description down below if you want to find out some more about that stuff. And they're constantly working with their community in Pennsylvania. They're employing over 100 different people. Diamondback is almost the ideal story of an American startup company who is employing other Americans out there, and there's just so many good things about the company itself that I could talk about this for a long time. However, I do want to talk about the Diamondback HD cover on the Tacoma build. So Diamondback came on board as a title sponsor, and with their support, I'm going to be able to build this truck out. I still have a ton of things planned for this, which you guys will see here on the channel soon. But one of the first steps was getting a solid platform back here, turning this 6-foot bed into something a little bit more usable. I took delivery of the HD cover just yesterday, got this thing installed. The seals around here are still sort of setting up, so this isn't really going to be an instructional how to install a Diamondback cover video, but I do want to sort of just give an overview of this thing, show you guys how I set it up, and maybe give you some tips and tricks along the way. So this is the Diamondback HD in the smooth black finish on a 6-foot Tacoma Axis cab. There are 2 other versions available. You can get the rugged black, which has sort of diamond plated across the top, and then an aluminum version as well if you wanted to maybe paint or coat it yourself to match the truck. Now there's so many awesome features about these covers, one of them being pretty damn light and super easy to install. This was one of the easiest installs of a product that I had on a vehicle in quite a long time. That's including the van, motorcycles, and everything else that you see me working on here on the channel. The install took roughly an hour, and then I did do some minor tweaks after the fact, but this is how it sits right now, and it really completes the look of the truck. Now if we climb up on top here, you can see there's footprints all over it because I've been walking on this thing. Now these covers are rated to hold up to 1,600 pounds, and if I had to guess, I would say it could hold even more than that, so they're probably being a little bit conservative on that number. You could park motorcycles on top of this cover and strap them down. I've even seen ATVs on the covers strapped down. If you have a truck with a longer bed, you could even do 2 ATVs side by side, and this thing ain't going anywhere. This model has 12 different cleats around the outside here for tie down points. You could put any kind of cargo on here really and make sure everything is nice and secured with all of those cleats. As long as you install it properly, the entire thing is weather sealed as well, so you won't have any water getting in here if you have any kind of sensitive items in here that you don't want to get wet. And of course, it turns this whole thing into a giant locker. We have a lock for the cab section back here, and then a lock for the tailgate section right here. Now, a lot of people who run these covers use them as a really nice platform to mount other things like racks and rooftop tents. I don't have a rooftop tent yet. Might do that in the future. And when you mount something like a rooftop tent to this, you do lose a little bit of the functionality, so a lot of people don't really realize how these things articulate. Most of the time in YouTube videos, you see people out camping and using these covers with a rooftop tent on it or having other cargo strapped to it, but since I don't have anything on here right now, let me show you how this thing works. Cab panel popped up. Use the key to unlock. Tailgate panel popped up. There you go. Now the install on this cover was pretty straightforward. Diamondback definitely provides a lot of good documentation because there are quite a lot of moving pieces here, but again, the install took me about an hour and it turned out really, really good. So the first thing you do is lay the centerpiece down, get everything positioned with the panels on here, make sure you have the same spacing on each side, and then also between the cab and the tailgate. Now once you have everything lined up appropriately, you can come on the inside and use these clamps to strap the centerpiece down to the utility rails. Depending on what truck you drive, it's going to vary slightly, but for the Tacoma, just uses these clamps and it is super secure. From there, you can then adjust the actual seals, how tight you make this thing. When I turn this handle on top, that is what engages these locking bars. I have this thing lined up perfectly, so when I twist this, there is a little bit of tension there because I want the gasket to sort of compress down a little bit. In reality, after you get a cover installed like this, you probably want to keep it closed for roughly 3 to 4 days. That way, that gasket can seal and make a really nice watertight seal all the way around the bed. But for video's sake, of course, I'm going to be opening this thing up to show you guys. After you get those dialed in, you can adjust the bars right up here with these 2 set screws. I did install these hydraulic arms, which are rated for 97 pounds. The cover comes up very nice and easy, also comes down just as easy. And then you also have some safety tether straps, which you put on the bars that those mount to. So that is just the cover itself, but Diamondback also makes a lot of accessories to set this thing up for whatever type of adventure you are going on. So some of the accessories that I added are right here, these equipment rails. These were super easy to install. You just lay them on there, mark the holes, drill them out. They give you the hardware to put those in there. And then I have a few different mounts, which I haven't installed just yet because I'm not sure what I want to keep back here. Probably an axe, a shovel. They also make weapon mounts, so you could mount a hunting rifle up here, an AR, a bow. The possibilities are pretty much endless. I even have a fire extinguisher mount, so I could mount a fire extinguisher up here. Another accessory I've added is right here underneath the back part of the cover, and this is actually a touch-sensitive light bar. You're not really going to be able to tell because it's so bright out here right now. But of course, when you have a completely weather sealed compartment like this, it does get pretty dark, so I'll roll in a clip here of what this looks like in the dark. I have one installed in the back by the tailgate. It runs on 4 AA batteries, and then I also have one installed in the front towards the cab. And then if we come around to the side here, this one locks up from the driver's side, so I mounted the box right here, giving me really easy access to shed some light on whatever is in the back here. While we're right here, another accessory is this little cargo bin. This thing simply drops in, and then there are little cutouts on each side like you can see right here, and when the cover comes down and locks into place, these crossbars go right through those holes and it keeps that thing nice and secure. You also have the option of mounting this directly into the bed if you wanted to sort of use it as a permanent toolbox. You can put some sheet metal screws there and affix this thing permanently. I don't like doing anything that is completely permanent, so that's why I just have this thing sort of dropped in here right now. Now, if I close the cab panel, this one does have spring tension on it, so you have to rotate that to actually get it to close. You'll notice how tight that seal is there. It actually takes me a little bit of effort to turn this thing, and that is actually how you want to have this thing set up when you have it installed. So one tip that I would have is have a buddy around as you're putting this thing on, and then have them stand on this. I actually had Mike come over yesterday when we filmed a video, and I had him stand up here. That way it puts pressure down on the bed. So as I am tightening these little bars here, I can push them up as far as possible. That way when I do close the cover and turn it, it provides a little bit of resistance, and when those bars lock in, it compresses this seal. Now back to the cab section. If I unlock this thing, you'll notice there is a safety latch here. That way this cover won't go flying open. Simply press up on it there, and it will rise up. Now, one more tip for getting this thing installed specifically for the Tacomas. They do provide a little kit with silicone and some weather tape seals. If you just throw the cover on, it's not going to be completely watertight, so you will have a gap right here in between the cap of the bed and then moving backwards. It may be a little bit difficult to see on camera, but the way I did this was I put painter's tape all around, basically sealing it off with tape, and then I took the silicone and sort of just smushed it in that gap. I cleaned it off with my finger, put a little piece of plastic over it to let it dry. And now with that gap filled on each side, when I close the cover and have that thing locked, close this cover, and I get that side locked, anything that I have back in the bed will now be completely sealed off from the elements. And again, it's like a giant storage locker for the back of the truck. So there you guys have a quick look at the install of a Diamondback HD cover, and I'm definitely going to be putting this thing to the test pretty damn soon. Again, I don't have any accessories mounted up here right now, but I do have a front runner rack, which I may mount up here if I want to run a tent or just mount other accessories to it. When you do a rooftop tent though, you are going to lose the functionality of having this thing flip open, so it really depends on what you want to do with the truck and how you want to utilize the cover. I think for the first couple of trips coming up, I might turn this thing into a little bit of a sleeper. I'm so used to traveling in my van where I can just pull over on the side of the road and sleep wherever, but in a truck that's a little bit different when you don't have a tent or a camper option in the back. So I think I may bring you guys a video on turning this thing into like a little sleeper, maybe a mattress. It already has lighting, maybe some power options. The cover's really not designed to live in, but in a pinch, I think we can make that work. So if you guys want to see that video in the future, leave some likes here, leave some comments down below. If you already own a Diamondback cover on one of your trucks, let me know what you think about it. Chances are you love it. Everyone that I've talked to about these covers, they really love everything about them. And I haven't even had a good chance to use this thing yet, but I already love the look of it. It is super clean and it adds a whole lot more functionality to the truck. So if you guys have any questions on the install, let me know in the comments down below. I'd be happy to help you with anything that you might have. I gotta give a huge thank you to Diamondback for being a title sponsor of the Tacoma build. I'm really looking forward to using this thing a lot more in the future to show you guys some of the modularity of it, how you can put it on, take it off, add different accessories. The possibilities are almost endless when it comes to this thing, so I'm excited. Hopefully you guys are too. If you're new to the channel, consider clicking subscribe. I make new videos every week. As always, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you in the next one.